Hello, New York City Middle School students and families. This is Maurice Frumkin with NYC Admissions Solutions. Back with you this week with another of our continuing episodes on the New York City high school admissions process. So welcome. Today we're going to cover a little bit more about one of the tools that we mentioned in our last episode, which is the big high school directory that I'm sure you're familiar with. Big, thick publication issued by the New York City Department of Education, and hopefully you have one of these by now. What I mentioned last week was that this is one of your tools to use throughout the high school admissions process, and I want to emphasize that this is just one of the tools to use. Now, it's an important tool, yes, but it should absolutely not be a substitute for doing the real tough work, the real tough research that you're going to have to do throughout the course of this process. And by that I mean talking to people, building your success team, including people like your guidance counselor and your friends and family, people like me, and others that you're going to want to gather on your team, because you can't do this alone. So the high school directory is really important. It's a great tool and it's a great guide, but it is not meant to be a substitute for those kinds of things. And one of the worst pitfalls, one of the worst mistakes that I've seen students make going through this process is they use this directory and that's their only tool. That's the only resource that they use. Big mistake. So for a couple minutes today, I want to talk about a couple of aspects about the high school directory, because this is a publication that can immediately seem overwhelming just because of how big it is and how many schools are in this thing. Every high school in New York City has a page, at least one page, in this directory. Now, the great thing about it is that the directory is organized very consistently in a way that you can very easily compare school to school and page to page, because the same sections are on every single high school's page of the directory. So once you know that, and once you know that the high schools within the directory are organized by borough, there are 5 sections in the directory, one for each borough, then you can sort of start to feel a little bit less overwhelmed, because you want to develop a system for getting through this directory. And I've seen students use a lot of different kinds of systems, like folding back pages and using sticky notes and making marks on pages with pen or pencil, folding back pages, making copies. It doesn't really matter. Whatever your system is, whatever you're most comfortable with, you want to get organized with it, and this can be your friend. This directory can be your friend if you have an organized system to use that you're comfortable with throughout the course of the year. But one of the major things that I want to cover today in just a couple minutes is something that is absolutely critical as you approach this high school admissions process, which, as you should know by now, is a citywide high school choice process, which means you have the opportunity to choose virtually any school throughout New York City. Even if you live in the Bronx and you want to choose a school in Staten Island, in many, if not most of all cases, you can do that. So this may seem very obvious, but you need to pay close attention to where schools are. And you're not choosing schools that you're not comfortable traveling to every single day of your high school career, because guess what? Once it's on that application, the Department of Education is going to assume that you've made an educated decision and you're choosing that school if it's on your application. They're not second guessing, and they're not trying to read your mind as far as how comfortable you are with the choices that you make on your application. They are assuming you're comfortable with those choices, whether it's your first choice or your 12th choice. They assume you have some level of comfort with those choices. So unless you're comfortable knowing where the schools are that you choose on that application, and you're comfortable traveling to that school every single day for your high school career, then it should not be on the application at all. So one of the easiest ways to start to narrow down your choices of schools to put on that application is to know where those schools are, and to have looked at websites like hopstop.com, hopstop.com, or MTA Info. Whatever website you use to get a better idea of where those schools are compared to where you live is great. Even more importantly is visiting those schools, and we'll talk about that in future episodes. But location is a huge determining factor of how successful you are at this process and how good your application is going to be. So we're going to wrap up this episode for this week, but we invite you to join us again next week. So just to really quickly recap. Number one, the directory is a really, really important tool, but it's just one tool you have at your disposal. It is not meant to be a substitute for talking to people like your guidance counselor and your friends and family and me here at NYC Admissions Solutions. It can be an overwhelming publication unless you develop a system that you can use for yourself and you're organized and you're looking at location first. Location, location, location. These are schools that you put on your application that you're going to be traveling to every single day for your high school career. So, we will see you every week throughout the course of this process. We invite you to tell your friends and your family to tune in. This is a free advice that you can get. We're going to hold your hand throughout the course of the year. Tell your friends, register to sign up. We'll send you this video every single week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. I hope this was helpful. Maurice Frumkin, NYC Admissions Solutions. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.